Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Three Principles Global Community webinar. The Three Principles Global Community, or 3PGC, is a nonprofit organization that's committed to bringing an understanding of the three principles to people throughout the world. Today, we have Jack Pransky with us. Jack Pransky is a national and international consultant, speaker, and author who has worked in the field of prevention and community organizing since 1968. He authored a variety of books that you can find on his website, healthrealize.com, which I'll also post underneath the recording on YouTube. Jack specializes in prevention from the inside out and specifically in the three principles / health realization. Jack, thank you so much for joining us. I'm really pleased to have you do this webinar with us. And I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you.
Okay, thank you, Bonnie, and very nice to be with all of you out there. So the reason I called this little session farewell is because I'm in the process of retiring. So in 1991, I was shocked to bump into what then wasn't even really called the three principles. It was called psychology of mind at the time. And I was going about my business just in the field of prevention of problem behaviors. I was always interested in what worked. I had just pretty much, I was at the very tail end of writing a book about the field of prevention, which is called Prevention, the Critical Need, and I refer to it now as prevention from the outside in. And when I came upon, I was invited serendipitously to a conference at which Roger Mills was speaking at. And I did not expect really anything to be happening to me. But something happened there at that time that caused me to say, whoa, wait a minute, these people are getting results that are twice as good, or more than twice as good, as anything that I've seen in the field of prevention before. What is it? And they were basically doing what I considered to be everything backwards. And yet they got these incredible results. And that was the first time that I really opened my eyes to the possibility of something new. And interestingly, jumping ahead by many years, I would have to say, so that was in 1991, so that was about 28 or 29 years ago. And really, I would say that my evolution in the understanding of the principles has really kind of gone like this. And then all of a sudden in the last probably 6 or so years, I really feel like I've just started to catch on to what Syd Banks was really talking about. And all of a sudden it goes, whoop, in terms of my own understanding. And it's really kind of interesting, the whole evolution that I've gone through. So what happened was I bumped into something that I wrote about a year ago, which was a listing of all of the major insights that I've had along the way. And when I saw it again, I was thinking, whoa, this, I wonder what it would be like for me to share these things with everybody. So that's kind of like what I had in mind. Um, it's funny though, because I don't usually, I don't usually like to start just talking. Unlike my second cousin George, he could talk all day. So I really, the way that I like to work best is by, having a give and take with people. So I'm going to do my best to try to start off this way, but really the sooner that we can open it up to everybody's questions, the better off I'm going to be. But I'll take a little shot at this. I wrote them down. So, all right, the first thing was that I had the privilege of going down and interviewing people who whose lives had been really turned around in the Modelo housing project. So I had asked Roger Mills if I could go, if I could write a book about what happened in Modelo. So I was down there, and it was right after Hurricane Andrew had happened. I was just about to go down there when I saw Hurricane Andrew making its way down to Florida. And I stopped. I backed off and I said, I've got to wait. So by the time I got down there, which was a month later, the entire place had been completely devastated. And you could not tell that anything had gone on in this housing project at all, because people were literally scattered to the winds. Half the people were gone living with relatives. Half the people were in a makeshift trailer park across the street. And other people had moved into the trailer park, so you really couldn't tell. So I had to kind of track down the people whose lives had been changed most. And when I was interviewing those people, I got hit twice as hard by the fact that these people's lives, we're talking about people who were crack addicts, who were alcoholics, being regularly beaten by their boyfriends on crack, in turn were beating their kids, people who were in the depths of despair by any people who were looking from the outside at it. And the fact that these people's lives had completely turned around was one of the most amazing things I've ever experienced in my life. And luckily, I mean, if people haven't read Modelo, it's a book really worth reading, because you can get to see with your own eyes what happened here. And the thing that struck me so much was that just by seeing new, like, thought changes, and suddenly people's lives actually change. I mean, that was like a completely new idea to me. I never even thought about thought before. But not only was this about thought, this was about, you see life a certain way, and then you get a new insight or a series of insights of a huge enough magnitude, and your entire life shifts. So people who were in that state of despair now are like, they're the ones that are going around helping other people out whose lives have been devastated by the hurricane. they're the ones that are living at a much higher level. It was really astounding to me. It was shocking to me. And I knew at that point that I had to really find out what it was that happened to them that changed their lives around the way that it did. And that was when I had my second amazing insight. And that was as a direct result of me having an encounter with Syd Banks, because I was trying to track him down. I was trying to go get to the source. And I won't go into that story because that story is in my book, Seduced by Consciousness. But basically, so here I am trying to get in touch with him. He doesn't want to talk to me because he's got a whole bunch of people coming in for a seminar. And so he kind of blew me off. And I was kind of really bummed out about it. But I asked Roger Mills if I could get together with him before the seminar started. And he said, yeah. So I'm over there meeting all the people involved with this understanding. And then all of a sudden, he's introducing me to Syd Banks. And I go out to eat with them. And I'm sitting at a round table with all these people who are part of the faculty and the spouses of faculty members. And in the middle of the meal, he turns to me and he says, I can see that you're here looking for help. Ask me anything you want. And everything that I had ever thought of asking the guy went totally out of my head. I just didn't know what to say. I was a complete blank. And then he started talking. And while he was talking, he started sounding like he does on his tapes. And I found myself getting extremely irritated. Oh God, Syd's going into his rap. All these people must around this table must be like totally, bored to death having heard this stuff a million times, and I want to slide under the table. And all of a sudden, something happened to me that was, I don't even know how to describe it, but I was transported into a different realm. And I kind of became separated from myself. And I think I said this at the Viva event recently. That was really the last time I was speaking at a conference like thing. And I said that what I realize now in retrospect, because when Syd first talked to me like that and I became disoriented, I really didn't know what I was disoriented from. But now I know. Because basically what he was saying to me is, you have been looking out there for the explanation of life, for your happiness, for peace of mind, and everything out there is in the wrong direction. Everything you've been gearing your life towards is just plain wrong. Life happens from within, deep within our hearts, from within ourselves. Every time we point out there as the reason that we have any kind of an emotion, any kind of a feeling, we are in a completely, we're completely off base. It's just so obvious that it really, really looks as if the outside world is causing us to feel the way that we do, we would absolutely swear that that's the case. And to have someone come along and say, no, it's exactly the opposite. It's completely disorienting. And that's why I kind of, in a sense, I lost myself in the process and could not even function after that for quite a while until I got my bearings back. And the only thing I knew at the time was that I knew that Syd knew that he was speaking truth. And I was more sure of that than anything that I'd ever been sure of in my life. I knew that he knew. It was truth. And everything that I had been thinking about the way life works was false, in a sense. So that's why I got completely disoriented. Okay, so everything happens from within. That was like such an incredible insight for me that it just changed everything for me. And furthermore, he was saying, you've been looking here to find the answers, and there are no answers here. The answers are within our hearts. They're within. And once I started looking in that direction, everything changed for me. And it was like, oh my God, all of a sudden, I have the responsibility. I can't blame anybody else out there for my feelings. I can't blame my circumstances. I can't blame the situations I'm in. It's all me. It's my responsibility. Whoa. That shook me to my roots. It really did. So those were my first two huge insights. And then, and I've got to consult my list here. Oh yeah, right after that. So right after that, I'm visiting a friend who I hadn't seen in years, at least 10 years. And we're sitting in this Holiday Inn courtyard. And I'm talking to her about what had just happened to me with Syd. And all of a sudden, and people were leaning over the balconies and like just milling about. All of a sudden, I saw everyone in their separate realities. I can't describe it, but it's like I saw that everybody was constructing their reality in a certain way for themselves, and that was life to them. And that's what we were all doing. It was like a constructed little world that everybody created without knowing it, that they called reality. And we're looking out of that reality. And that's what life was to them. And all of a sudden it was like, whoa, everybody is innocent. Everybody's used mind, consciousness, and thought to construct their reality in a way that they just think is real, construct their life as if it is real. And it's just thought coming into consciousness with all the possibilities of mind. And that's all it is. It's total innocence. So that was another big insight that I had. And then I was reading George Pransky's book on the relationship handbook, which at that time was called Divorce is Not the Answer. And I realized for the first time that I just got an understanding of levels of consciousness. Each of those separate realities that I had seen people in before were just different levels of consciousness that people are wandering around in. And no matter what happens to us in our lives, no matter what transpires, it's like we have a thought that comes into our consciousness and appears at a different level. And so we look, we think, feel, and act out of that level. I just want to check in with you for a moment to see whether there's a fan that just came on here. Is that interfering with the sound, or can I keep going like this?
It made a little bit of noise, but I think it's fine now.
You think it's fine? Okay. Anytime we like, let's say somebody yells at us and we get scared, that is one level of consciousness. Let's say somebody yells at us in the exact same way and we get angry. That's a different level of consciousness. Let's say people yell at us in the exact same way and we just feel neutral. It doesn't affect us at all. That's a different level of consciousness. Or suddenly we feel compassion for them because they're so lost that they feel like they need to yell. Or we feel a sense of gratefulness because people don't yell at us more, or whatever it is. I mean, it's just that all these levels of consciousness are built into every possible situation, event, anything that happens to us. They're all built in, and we pick one inadvertently, land on it, and that's what life becomes to us at that time. That really blew me away. And it wasn't actually until years later that, I don't know if you've read Somebody Should Have Told Us, but there's a story in there about when I was swimming in a pool and bumped into some little kids bumped into me. And I realized while that was happening, while I was swimming along and I saw myself be at all these different feeling levels while it was happening, that I totally grasped for myself what levels of consciousness was all about. And I just want to make sure that everybody understands that, you know, there's this notion that if we're at a lower level, we can be at a higher level. That's true. But this has nothing to do whatsoever with trying to be at a higher level. It's just the possibility of seeing that all these levels exist at once. And so we're never stuck with the level that we're at. So that was another huge insight I had. And then the insight that I got was about deep listening. That we could actually listen to somebody at such a deep level that we would hear the answers that are embedded in universal mind. What a shocking thought that is. Like, if we are so clear, so empty, we are just complete empty vessels. And there's this universal intelligence that's running through us and behind us and around us and in between myself and another person who I'm talking to. And so people come to us with a presenting problem or issue. And the um, embedded in universal intelligence is what's behind this problem. And embedded in universal intelligence is the um, solution to this problem. And all we have to do is get quiet enough to hear it. So it has absolutely nothing to do with people's um, words. It has absolutely nothing to do with seeing body language. It has only to do with seeing way, way, way beyond, sometimes being able to see what people don't even see for themselves. And that it's possible to hear at that kind of a level, that was just unbelievable to me. It changed everything about the way that I work with people. Let me see what else I've got here. Oh, another one. At one point, it just came to me. I was walking on a beach, and it came to me that, wow, we are the creators. Now, we don't go out of our way to create the thoughts that come into our head, but it's our creation, what we make of those thoughts for ourselves. We do that with different thinking that we're not aware of. But like if we get a thought of fear, that thought would just blow out of our heads as if it was nothing, except if we take that thought and make meaning of it for ourselves. That's our creation. It's like our relationship to that thinking is our creation. The meaning that we make, what we take with it for our lives. That's us. It's like as God creates life, all life, so we create our lives. And that's what we're doing moment to moment to moment. We are creating our lives moment to moment. And one of the most beautiful things about that is that if we don't like a creation that we've inadvertently created for ourselves, thought is going to come along, new thought, and our experience of life is going to change. And there's nothing we have to do, nothing we can or have to do about it. It's just going to happen on its own. So that was another huge insight that I had that elevated me over the years. Now, interestingly, all of those things happened, well, except for the last one. They happened pretty much in the first, I'd say, 5 or 6 years of my being involved with the principles. The last one happened maybe 10 years ago. But really, the way that I have been elevated most has been with what has transpired in the last 6 or 7 years. I've just started to see somehow I've dropped into my own power of seeing. Before, I found myself, I heard a lot of tremendous ideas from other people, and they became part of me, But I had to drop out of that level of other people's ideas into a space where I am completely confident that what is bubbling up from me is going to guide me through life, be able to help me know what to say to people, that there's something solid that's there. And it took some really deep insights over the last 5 or 6 years to start seeing it. So it'd be nice if I could read this without my glasses, but I'm getting old. Oh yeah, wow, how could I forget this one? So this is pretty much where my book Seduced by Consciousness ends. So I had a relationship for 10 years with it was a beautiful, beautiful relationship. And all of a sudden, she left me. And I was completely and utterly devastated. And it shocked me how devastated I was because I'm supposed to know the three principles. But where people have blind spots, they don't see the three principles in action, they see reality. So that's the exception. So I'm on Naxos, I'm going down the tubes, my mind is just swirling down, 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 down. And all of a sudden, I just shattered into a million pieces. And I saw these pieces of me go off into slow motion into the universe. And then I realized in that moment that the pieces of me, in other words, form, my form, doesn't mean anything. The only thing that means anything is the universal energy that holds it all together. Incredible. And in that moment, all of a sudden, I was lifted out of myself. And I could see what Syd was talking about firsthand. This is, and then it's coupled with another insight that I had a little further down the line. Again, I'm walking on the beach, and all of a sudden, I realized what Syd meant by everyone is playing the same game. I just saw everyone playing the same game. It's a game called life. We are playing this game of life. We are using mind, consciousness, and thought to play this game of life. The game of life separates us from universal mind, which is the energy and intelligence of all things. Like that's the reality. And everything else is being made up. And we're all doing this in our own little ways. We're all just playing this game using mind, consciousness, and thought, and we don't know it. And it's telling us what life is, and we're falling for it. But when we awake to it, we're in a whole nother world. And that world has automatic peace of mind, automatic love, automatic wisdom, just built right into it. So that everything that we're looking for in life is us already. And we can only create the illusion that we're not that. And that illusion is the game. And that's the game that we're playing. And when we catch on to that, we just like see it. All of a sudden, nothing really can look the same anymore, except where we do have blind spots, and then it looks like reality. So I fall for it all the time, wherever I have a blind spot. I can feel like I'm talking way too long here, so why don't I just open it up to questions right now, because I just really feel like I should do that.
So if anyone has a question, you can either raise your hand
Or
or
comments.
yeah, or comments. I'll make a comment just quickly. Jack, you did a beautiful, to me, you just told a beautiful story of the evolution of your understanding. You know, you said in the beginning you're better with questions and answers, but that was beautiful what you just.
Well, I'm glad you liked it. It didn't feel that great to me, but that's great.
So anyone questions? Ellen.
Come on, people, I need you.
Whoops, Ellen, there you go.
Ellen.
Hi, Jack.
Hi, Ellen.
Yeah, I didn't want to interrupt you because it was so beautiful to hear your evolution of consciousness and your evolution of understanding. And so thank you for that. And thank you for sharing so many beautiful books. I just love reading your words.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
And really hearing your stories. And so I don't know if it's a question or just I want to see if I'm understood something that you said around levels of consciousness. So I'm very aware that every response that I have is my level of consciousness in the moment, and everyone else is back to, like, I'm aware of that. Not always in the moment, but I understand that.
Right.
And I've heard probably you and other people, and Syd and other people say, like, once you have a level of consciousness, you can't like go back, you can't lose it. So what kind of deepened or clarified in it is that just like there's personal mind and universal mind, it's like the personal level, personal consciousness is moment to moment, up and down, and expressed by my reaction to life. But then universal. So it's unraveling and confusing.
Well, there are no words anyway, so just do your best. That's what I have to do all the time. Is I know words are not going to work, so. Hey.
So there's universal consciousness that is. It just is.
Yeah. So was that a question?
And so when we have like a new level of understanding or a new level of consciousness in that expansive consciousness, like the confusion is we can't lose that, but moment to moment we act as if we've lost it. So that's
right.
The question. So people say we can't, like, once we have a level of consciousness, we can't lose that.
Well, you mean a high enough understanding? Is that what you mean by level of consciousness there?
I'm not sure, maybe, yeah.
Well, it's like once I saw that form doesn't matter. Form is matter and matter doesn't matter, okay? Once I saw that, did that mean that I didn't fall back into getting caught in form again. No, it doesn't mean that. But it means once I realized that um, universal mind is the truth, and we're just creating our little illusions of who we are and what life is, and going about our business that way. It doesn't mean I'm not going to get caught in it.
Mhm.
When I get caught in it, my level of consciousness is going to drop.
Mhm.
But every once in a while, I'm going to catch on once again to the fact of the truth. So that once you've seen the truth, or
You
at
can
least,
use
whatever
that.
we, quote unquote, I mean, whatever we in this form can see of truth,
Mhm.
once we see that, um, in those moments that we see it, we're going to be at an extremely high level and be able to look down at the rest of life, you could say, and everything that gets put in perspective. And then we're going to get caught in form because we're human beings, and we're going to forget all about what we knew. But because we had that insight, we're going to like clue back into it from time to time. And then it's all going to make sense to us again.
Yeah.
So that's the way I see that.
Yeah.
But if anybody gets the idea, that we're supposed to be at at a really high level of consciousness all the time,
Yeah.
that's not what the three principles are talking about.
Yeah, no. And that's freedom from other spiritual teachings that I've had where there was like a goal or a destination to
Yeah.
get to.
But a lot of people see the three principles that way.
Mhm.
And that was one of the things that I caught on to somewhere along the line about somewhere between 6 and 10 years ago, is that that the three principles are only a description
Mhm.
of how life works moment to moment, how our experience of life comes to be moment to moment. People have taken that, and because of our creative power of thought, have turned it into, um, therefore, you can live life at a high level of well-being, and that's the goal. Well,
Mhm.
that's not the goal. The goal is to see where our experience of life really comes from, see the way that it really works. And it just so happens that a byproduct is that we're going to be uh, at a higher level of consciousness when we see it, and therefore exist in nicer feelings, you could say.
Mhm. Yeah, so I guess my own answer to my question is that or what I'm seeing now is that so I have a higher I have a I see a new perspective, a new level of
Mhm.
consciousness. And that when I have my moment to moment human experience, it doesn't mean that I it just means that it doesn't mean that I've lost what I saw
Exactly.
before. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Thank you and many blessings on your continued journey.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. It's a weird thing to retire from this. I mean, it's not like I can ever retire from the principles. You can't get away from the principles even if you wanted to. They're very, very much a part of who I am. And I will continue, hopefully, to see life through those eyes as best as possible. What I'm retiring from is making my life's work, sharing them with other people. And that happened because there are just, when you get to be 73 years old, there's just, and you look at the rest of your life and you don't know how long you have left. You said, there are a lot of other things that I want to be doing, and that I've, had to put aside for so many years. And I still love the idea of helping people see the understanding of the principles. I'm still going to write. I'm still going to, probably talk to people from time to time if they ask. But as far as like, I'm still going to, if people invite me to some exotic place that's on my bucket list and they say, you know, we'll bring you there if you do a training there, I'll probably go. But as far as it being my life's work, that's what I'm retiring from.
Is Phoenix, Arizona on your bucket list?
Phoenix. No, but Bill Pettit is there.
Yeah, and Linda.
Yeah. Anybody else? How can all of you folks who are out there not have either a question or a comment? Let me see if I can see one of the other things that I didn't. Oh, this one. Yeah. So when I I got into a new relationship, and I've been open about the fact that really my blind spots have to do with relationships, most of them. So I'm getting into a new relationship, and it's a long distance relationship, and I'm not sure if I want it. I mean, I really like this person. I fell in love with her. Uh, I'd really love to be with her, but she's got little kids. I'm much older than she is. And I'm going through, you know, she lives in a place where I don't particularly want to live. And I go through all of these things, all these reasons why I can't make the decision to go and be with her. And I decide to open myself up to universal mind and what universal mind could inform me about this. So most of my insights happen on a beach. And so I'm starting to walk on the beach and I open myself up. Universal mind, please guide me here. Please help me know what to do. And I take it off my mind and I get quiet. And all of a sudden, so I'm walking along and there's these, some of you may have heard this story before, I'm not sure, but I see these clouds on the horizon, so you can't really see when the sun is coming up because I was out there at sunrise. Clouds lining the horizon, beautiful sky, you know, just above me, but clouds on the horizon. So all of a sudden I see this golden glow around these clouds. It was so beautiful. And then this little orange ball just peeks up from behind the clouds, and it's just so incredibly beautiful. I just got lost in it. And in that moment, I heard a voice. It said, Jack, you have been looking for answers in the cloud, and there are no answers in the clouds. You need to look to the light. And oh my God, that shocked me to my roots. I've been looking for answers where there are no answers. I mean, that's kind of a shocking thing. All my energy is going to where there are no answers, you know, and that was another huge insight I had. As soon as I had that insight, all of the reasons I had for not going to this relationship just evaporated because they were all in the clouds. All of those answers were in the clouds. And what was left was looking to the light. And when I looked to the light, I saw the beauty of this relationship and what it could bring me. And here I am. And it's beautiful. It's been beautiful. It hasn't been without its bumps, but it's been a really beautiful relationship. And I'm so happy that I had that insight because it allowed that to happen within me. Any other questions or comments out there?
If you do have any, you can unmute yourself or you can raise your hand. Anyone?
No,
Gosh,
I never expected that from this. Oh, there's somebody.
I,
Deborah.
I don't really have much to say. It's just been listening to you has been such a gift. It's just touched me really deeply.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate hearing that.
Yeah.
I really do. I mean, that's, so I did my last training in Spain just a couple of weeks ago. And just like last year at this time, when we did a training in Spain, it was like magic happened. When Syd said, the secret is in the feeling, I never totally grasped. It took me years and years and years to grasp what that meant. Once I did grasp it, I decided that what I would do is go out of my way to try is not the right word, to create that feeling within whatever venue I was in. So we just did a coaching mentoring retreat. And the first thing we did, so we were in a circle. We let in too many people into this group because after we had closed it, people still wanted to come in and we were soft touches. So we had 37 or 38 people in a circle, which is way too big for a circle. And we spent the entire first day with people just talking about how they got here. You know, what was their journey along the road to coming upon the three principles and having that affect their lives in even the smallest way that would allow them to even show up at something like that, or a huge way, ways that change their lives. And all we did the entire first day was go around the circle and have everyone talk about that. And these were complete strangers for the most part when they walked into the room. And by the end of the first day, that feeling was so strong, it was just palpable. And I knew from that point on that whatever we did, people would be in that feeling together. And that feeling is really the feeling of love. And when people feel the feeling of love, their minds totally relax. They just fall into this beautiful place, and their minds are like primed for new insights. New insights are the only way people ever change through the three principles. We can't make that happen. There's nothing we can do to make it happen. But we can help people's minds get primed to fall into that state. And then magic happens. It's really an incredible thing. There were people sitting in that room who were, I mean, one of them, I'm picturing him right now. He was the most depressed person I've ever seen in my life. He was on all kinds of medication. It was very, very difficult for me to work with him. I sent him to Bill Pettit. Bill softened him up a little bit. I'm talking to him more. And all of a sudden I get this email from him, and it's in my book, Seduced by Consciousness. The guy's name is John Dorbar. He was just at this last training retreat. He has completely lifted from depression. He's living a beautiful life at a much higher plane now. It's a miracle. It really is. But it just speaks to how much hope there is for every single person, even those people who we don't think there's any hope for. There is hope for everyone. There was another woman in the room who's also in my book, Seduced by Consciousness, Sally, who just was a very severe alcoholic, one of the most severe alcoholics I've ever seen. And she had kicked the habit of alcohol by the time she bumped into the three principles. And she was going to AA all the time just to keep her afloat because she was still really hurting. And now, after seeing the three principles in action in her life and seeing how life really works, she's just lifted into a new life. It's absolute miracle. And yet little miracles happen all the time with people who suddenly see things new and they rise above their circumstances and they get lifted into a new life. And it's the most incredible thing. That's why I wrote the book Hope for All, which is the book, my most recent book that recently came out. There are stories in there of people whose lives were in the depths of despair. And they had these monster insights that shifted them, and now they're the ones who are helping others. It's just an incredible thing. The three principles is an incredible thing. The fact that it all started with one man who has an enlightenment experience. And something, he sees the way life works. And the blessing is not that he saw it. That's one blessing. But the other blessing is that he wanted to give it away to humanity. So people ask, is Syd Banks the man important, or is it just what he saw that's important? Well, it's both. And the reason it's both is because Syd was really the model. He wanted to be in service to humanity. He wanted to be in service to humankind. It's not like he got this enlightenment experience and he said, I wonder how much money I can make helping people see this. He wanted to give it away to as many people as he possibly could. And one person at a time it spreads to, and then, they end up, once they see it for themselves, they end up helping other people with it. And then those people see it's something for themselves that's huge. And then they, help other people. And then it's this exponential thing that happens that is just taking hold one person at a time. And it's the most amazing thing that this has happened the way that it has from one man wanting to share it with humanity. Incredible. Any other questions or comments?
Justine?
Hello.
Justine. Hey.
Thank you, Jack.
You're welcome.
So beautiful. Can't believe I'm it's early-ish here, not too early in Australia, but yeah, I had no idea this was going to be like one of your last times that you're speaking. So how lovely to be here. And So I'm fairly new to the principles, but also wanting to be a practitioner. I'm a social worker, and yeah, just wondering if you have any words to offer for someone who's kind of new on this path of wanting to share this with other people.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that. It's a great question. What Syd Banks saw right from the beginning and said right from the beginning is that it's like the prerequisite in sharing this with other people is seeing it for oneself first. As soon as we think that we can share it with other people, beyond the depth of whatever we see, we start getting into the intellect and it falls on deaf ears. So if we see this tiny much, we can help other people see this tiny much. So we want to like see the three principles in operation in our own lives. See where our experience of life really comes from. See that it's not out there, it's not coming from out there, but coming from in here, within us. See that when we get caught up in all kinds of emotions, that we're just thinking that it's reality, when it's really this little illusion that we're creating for ourselves that we're mucking around in. You know, seeing that there's something greater than that, that is where all peace and love lie. Seeing that we can be guided by our wisdom moment to moment in our lives. Whatever anyone sees about this for themselves, that's what they can share with others. And that is such a beautiful thing. And then to know that nobody is going to hear anything we say unless they're able to let go of the grip of whatever their thinking is holding in their mind. It's just going to bounce off people's heads. So it would be wise for us to do whatever we can do to help people's minds relax. And then we want to, what I was talking about before, drop into a state of deep, deep listening where we hear beyond what people are saying. Where just being in this state of being an empty vessel, not allowing anything to interfere with that. So we pick up things like an antenna, you know, and when we get hit by something, you know, before that we might probe, you know, we might ask questions, we might throw out things to see if it sticks, but, you know, it's all in just the process of deep listening over and over and over again. And so we get hit by something, and that's what we want to share. I don't even think we want to share anything until we get hit by something like that, because it's going to fall on deaf ears. So we may as well save our breath. And then you know, we just want to share with what people are able to hear, starting with wherever they are at. You know, Syd Banks says there are no answers in the past. Some people have taken that to be interpreted as never go into the past with anybody. That's not what that means. If people are feeling like they want to talk about the past because it's important to them, they need to get it off their chest, and we hear that's where they need to go, we need to go there with them. It's just that he's right, there are no answers there. But if that's where we need to meet people, that's where we need to meet people. So for whatever that's worth, that's what I would suggest.
Thank you so much, Jack.
You're welcome. Anybody else?
Andrea, are you? I can see you're unmuted, but I can't hear you.
Is this Andrea Wolansky? I haven't seen Andrea for years. Andrea, show yourself.
She said she actually chatted and said that her camera is broken.
Oh,
We can't hear you. Do you want to type in your question or comment and I can read it for you? Sorry, we can't hear you.
well, it's really wonderful even to see your name on the screen, Andrea. It's been a really long time. Andrea's from Germany.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Great to see you too, Jack.
Okay, thanks.
This is absolutely beautiful. I really, really am very thankful that you came on and told the story of your insights. This was, I think you did drop us all into a really beautiful feeling. So
That was luck.
great. I like to call that grace, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have anything you want to say to wrap it up?
I just want to glance at my list one more time just to see if I forgot anything important here. Oh, yeah. One more thing. Thought is not important. It's our relationship to thought that's important. Doesn't matter what comes into our head. It's our relationship to it. That's what gets to us. That meaning that we make of it for ourselves. There's only what's happening. There's always three things going on. There's what's happening in the outside world. There's the meaning we make of it with our thinking. And then there's underneath all that, the essence of who we are connected to the oneness of all things. Those are the only three things going on at any time. If we have a physical problem or a physical disease, that's the outside world. Then there's our relationship to it with our thinking, and then there's what's underneath that. It's been really, really helpful for me to see that for myself and for other people around me to be helped to see it. And so just is it time to close? Because I just don't have a clock in front of me. So
Yeah, I mean, if you have something else to say, I'm happy to stay on.
well, I just want to really thank everybody. I want to thank everybody who I have met through the three principles, because everyone has enhanced me. And I have grown through listening to all of you. This community is such a beautiful community. Most people in it are just beautiful, and we've all dropped into a deep level of looking in the same direction together, and that just seems to bring out the best in people. I'm just so grateful to have been a part of it and to still be a part of it. And I just, I just want to say thanks. Thank you from the bottom of my heart to everyone.
So beautiful. Thank you, Jack. And I just thank you, everybody who attended live, and Just want to let you all know that the next webinar is on Monday, November 25th, and it's with Ellen Friedman. So hopefully we'll see you all then.
Great. Thank you again, everyone.